Here are your lows tonight. That is cold. Warmer temperatures and rain, they're on the way. Your forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, David. I'm Keegan Fox in for Stephanie this evening. We want to let you know about some information we just got into our newsroom. Canton Public Schools will be delayed 1 hour in the morning. Meanwhile, the polar blast is leaving a frosty mark all over the Jackson metro area. Sheets of ice left roads dangerously slick, like this scene on Fortification Street in Jackson. Frozen and busted water pipes are feeding into the problem all over our area. 16 WAPT's Tiffany Bradley found another Jackson neighborhood with ice issues.
Frozen streets.
You can just hydroplane just in a split second.
Slick, icy patches, a cause for concern for drivers, could be found on Old Canton Road.
You hear that sound? That's the sound of frozen grass. But right beside it is a completely iced sidewalk here in front of the Surgery Care of Jackson building on Lakeland Drive. But luckily, most folks aren't walking in these frigid temperatures.
A few blocks up the street, drivers had to slow down to avoid ice right in front of St. Dominic's Hospital. City crews had to use sand to get traction on the heavily traveled road. On Riverside Drive, we spotted workers barricading this frozen block of ice. Drivers we talked to say they were taking it slow.
Be more cautious and look out for other drivers as well as kind of drive slow.
Sure, I slow down. Yes, I do. I'm very aware of other cars around me.
Sound advice as colder temperatures trigger slick situations in the metro area. In Jackson, Tiffany Bradley, 16 WAPT News.
In Flowood, this water tower exploded near Manship Road and Grants Ferry Road, shooting a stream of water across the roadways. City crews spent hours breaking up the ice along the roadway under that tower. Flowood leaders blame the cold weather for the leak that sprayed all over the street. They say the tower is used as a reserve water source, so no water service was interrupted. 16 WAPT's Tammy Estwick was in downtown Jackson at Thalliamara, where she found a little bit of beauty left by the polar blast.
Production crews on the James Brown movie being shot right here in Jackson are taking credit for this: a tree branch frozen with water. Now, crews say that water from the fountain blew onto the tree overnight. Look how thick the ice is. You can see it right here in my hand, and it's even created icicles on some of the branches. But this isn't the only thing. Take a look over here at some of the shrubs closer to this fountain. You can see where water has frozen on top, and this is pretty solid. Pretty solid on top right there. And on the sides of it, it looks like it's got icicles, real icicles. These aren't the fake ones you put on your Christmas tree. And even on the ground, ice has formed. Now, some of this stuff is starting to break off because the sun has come out at this point, and a lot of it is starting to melt, but it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. In Jackson, Tammy Estwick, 16 WAPT News.
More than 2,200 customers in Jackson were without power this morning. Authorities say it's because the polar blast knocked a piece of equipment out of commission at the Gallatin Street substation in Jackson. For about 6 hours, businesses and homes surrounding Jackson State University were left in the dark and cold. JSU had to cancel their morning classes. Entergy says their system is overworked with hundreds of thousands of customers trying to stay warm all at the same time.
Our infrastructure is built to handle those peaks of summer. Typically, we don't get those types of peaks, in winter.
Entergy says it hopes there won't be any further problems with the power. Meanwhile, local shelters are opening their doors to help get everyone out of this cold weather. Those looking to keep warm in Jackson can contact Stew Pot Opportunity Center at 949-3540 or the Gateway Rescue Mission 353-9468. In Hazelhurst, the Red Cross has a shelter open. It's at Antioch Baptist Church on Highway 51. Now, today's the last day it will be open. Call 277-3535 for more information. And in Yazoo, a shelter is open at the King Solomon MB Church on Calhoun Avenue. It'll be open through 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we are keeping an eye on this polar blast. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to tell you how the cold could be hitting your wallet. Stay with us on 16 WAPT and WAPT.com for the latest information. Meanwhile, vagrants may be responsible for a morning house fire in Jackson. Firefighters found smoke and flames shooting from the building on Livingston Street around 11 a.m. The fire destroyed that vacant house, but no one was hurt. Our crew says firefighters had to work with a broken fire hydrant. It was leaking water from the bottom as it was pumping water through the hose. Authorities say that fire may have been started by someone trying to keep warm. Well, Jackson City leaders say there may be more water main breaks due to these cold temperatures. Residents head to the polls in just 1 week to vote on a 1% sales tax hike. The Public Works Department says the city's aging pipes are brittle and cannot handle these frigid temperatures. They also say more pipes could break after the frigid weather is gone.
It's freezing now, but when the water unthaws, then you might see some cracks that occurred during the freeze.
If voters approve the tax increase, that revenue would pay for improvements to the city's outdated water system. Dozens of residents in Jackson woke up to flat tires today. It happened overnight in the Madonna Manor community. Residents say tires were slashed with an ice pick and over 40 cars were on flats. People we spoke to say the building has security until 10 p.m. It's a gated community, but that did not stop vandals from getting in.
We are asking for 24-hour security. That's all we asking for. We have too many elderly people living here.
If we have to have insurance just to park there, I feel like our cars and our vehicles are supposed to be protected, you know. And who is to say it's not going to happen again Friday?
Some residents say the vandals cost them a couple $1,000s in damages. The man who held Pearl police at bay last night is now in the hospital. Police and SWAT teams swarmed the Harrington Boulevard home around 9:30 last night. Authorities say Joe Carter had barricaded himself inside, threatening to kill himself. There was a toddler asleep in the bedroom. There's no word yet on if that was Carter's child or what charges he may be facing. A car jumped a curb in Flowood and slammed into several parked vehicles. It happened this morning in the parking lot of River Oaks Hospital. The driver says she was going down Flowood Drive when someone tried to move over into her lane. The owner of one of those cars says it's not how she wanted to start her morning.
The lady says she swerved and hit 4 cars out here and come and check your vehicle. And that's all we got.
Police say no one was hurt. The driver was ticketed. The polar blast whipping across the country is being felt by an estimated 187 million people, and its impacts are also hitting people's wallets. Sally Kidd continues our team coverage live from Washington. Sally?
Keegan, experts say this extreme weather may have a slight drag on the economy, but it's expected to be a short-lived weather event, and that's really going to help. Massive Arctic blast is spreading misery across much of the country, and it may be putting a temporary chill on certain sectors of the economy.
The immediate effect is to keep people out of the stores. They're going to stay home. They'll use more heating oil, but they'll spend less money in restaurants and at the mall.
But analysts say that lost economic activity will be made up. Many stores saw a burst of activity before the mercury plummeted.
We're concerned, definitely, especially since we have a lot of young trees.
Citrus and vegetable growers are weathering a hard freeze in the south, and that could lead to higher prices.
That's a real loss. Orange juice prices, grapefruit, that will be up, and it'll be tough to replace those commodities until next year.
Experts say the airline and tourism industries may also take a hit, and construction projects are operating with a skeletal staff or not at all.
Oh, man, we sold a bunch of it.
But some businesses are cashing in.
This cold weather's really been bringing them in here.
Sales are booming at this firewood stand in North Carolina. And analysts say while higher demand tends to increase home heating costs, natural gas supplies are abundant right now, which should keep prices stable.
This is a real inconvenience, but unless it would last weeks, it's more of an annoyance and an inconvenience than it is a real problem.
A warm-up is on the way for many areas. They're expected to climb above freezing later this week. Live in Washington, Sally Kidd, 16 WAPT News.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Former Vicksburg Mayor Paul Winfield is now in federal prison. This is video of him leaving court last year. The ex-mayor reported to prison yesterday. Winfield pled guilty in September to seeking $10,000 in exchange for a city contract. He'll serve about 2 years. State lawmakers are back at work. The 90-day legislative session started at noon today. They'll tackle tough issues, including higher funding requests and for corrections and also for transportation. There's also a debate underway regarding a possible pay raise for teachers. Some lawmakers want an across-the-board increase, but the governor favors pay raises based on teacher performance. Also at the state capitol today, Tea Party supporters rallying over what's called Common Core academic standards. Mississippi and 44 other states use Common Core to standardize what American students learn and to encourage more analytical thinking. Opponents have been alarmed by federal support. They say it boils down to an intrusive federal takeover of Mississippi's schools.
And what we were sold to adopt by the Mississippi Department of Education is not what we want for school children in Mississippi going forward.
I cannot rightfully say that Common Core is going to either benefit academically or not, but thus far there's a lot of superintendents, a lot of principals, a lot of teachers that believe that it will.
The government issued an executive order recently stating the federal government cannot interfere in curriculum at local schools. Well, filming started in Jackson today for that James Brown biopic. 16 WAPT's Tammy Estwick was on the scene when actors started arriving on the set.
Security is tight here at Thalia Mara Hall. This is where they're filming a couple of scenes for the James Brown movie, right inside.
Throughout the day, extras poured off buses onto the set.
Y'all excited to be a part of this movie?
Yes, we are. Hi. They came dressed in clothing from the 1970s, some wearing fur coats, lots of bright colors, and then there were the hairstyles, afros. The Jackson shoot focused around a Paris theater where James Brown played in the 1970s.
Very excited, very excited.
Now, right now, the casting director says they don't need any more extras for the scenes being filmed right here in Jackson, but they say at the end of the month, there will be another casting call. In Jackson, Tammy Estwick, 16 WAPT News.
Get On Up is being directed by Mississippi native Tate Taylor, who also directed The Help. Well, the Salvation Army of Jackson needs donations after its thrift store burned down last week, and they say they'll take just about anything. The Salvation Army says it lost about $1 million worth of donated goods after that fire on Friday. Now they're looking for everything from clothing to silverware. Salvation Army Captain Ken Chapman tells us even rags and old T-shirts can make a difference.
We bundle them up and we sell 12,000-pound bales, and we make about $12,000 a truckload off of rags, and they are sold to third world dealers who sell them to third world countries.
Now 16 WAPT is calling on our viewers to help the Salvation Army restock its thrift store. Join us tomorrow morning starting at 4:30 for our Salvation Army Fire Drive. The 16 WAPT crew will be there to help collect any items that you would like to give. That fire drive is at 590 Raymond Road in Jackson. It's the old Sam's building behind New Horizon Church. And we do want to give you a look at some of the items needed by the Salvation Army. It includes everything from dolls to computers and even hangers. If you have anything to give, just join us tomorrow at 590 Raymond Road in Jackson. Meanwhile, David, we woke up to record-breaking lows all over the place this morning.
Frigid.
Yeah, real cold.
You were up at 4:30 in the morning, weren't you?
Yes, and I can tell you
5 o'clock at night.
Yes, I can tell you it was cold too.
And well, it's going to be just as cold tomorrow morning. Today's high was 32. We did not set a record lowest high temperature today like we did yesterday. But here is a look at the records that were broken. Yesterday, we had the record lowest average temperature, 21. A high of 28 was a record low high. And this morning's low of 14, a record low. Now, while it's going to be cold tomorrow morning, no records to be broken. I'll talk warm up as well, all coming up.
Millions of unemployed Americans may be a step closer to getting their benefits back, but it's not a done deal yet. Details coming up. Plus,
I'm saying to you, look at these guys here. Look at them.
Former NBA player Dennis Rodman is fired up. You're watching 16 WAPT live at 5.
More than $1 million in donations lost. 16 WAPT News and the Salvation Army are calling our viewers for your help to restock. Join us Wednesday at the Donation Center behind New Horizon Church in Jackson to drop off anything you can. Every donation helps our community.